I just finished my orange juice, probably like 12 ounces, 50, 60 grams of straight carbs, like straight sugar, which is what you really need to be doing. You need to be drinking a glass of orange juice like this. You need to be getting more sugar in your animal-based meat and fruit type of diet because the more sugar you have, the better you will feel. And you're probably under eating carbs on this diet, even though, you know, maybe you've experimented with low carb or carnivore or something like that. You've realized that you need to add carbs back in, but you're still not eating enough of them, and you wonder why this diet is not making you feel as good as you want to feel. Like you want to have energy, mental clarity, good mental health, testosterone. I feel so much better when I eat more sugar on this diet. Everyone hates sugar these days. They think it's going to make them fat, spike their insulin, give them diabetes from like a glass of orange juice, which is ridiculous. They think you only need carbs if you're super active. If you're running marathons every day, that's the only time you should be eating carbs, which is complete bullshit. The more sugar you eat from fruit juice, and honey, the better you will feel. And the rule you have to follow this. And you're not following this rule right now, which is why you feel terrible or you feel kind of mid. You need to eat a 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. This is the best advice I can possibly give you. I wish I had discovered this earlier because for months I was eating an animal-based diet, a meat and fruit type of diet, but I didn't even feel that good. Like, why am I eating this way if I don't feel good? If I don't have energy? If my brain doesn't fucking work? If I couldn't think clearly, I had brain fog every single day. And that's the worst. I hate having brain fog. I hate being low energy when I'm eating perfectly clean. I'm so disciplined with my diet, but I wasn't eating a 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio because I was probably eating more like I don't know, fucking 2-to-1 protein to carb ratio, which is atrocious for energy. When you eat more protein than carbs, or not 2-to-1 carbs to protein, your body starts using the protein you eat as fuel because it thinks it's starving, you don't have access to carbs. So it starts using that protein and turning it into carbs. All right, this is what carnivores do. This is the reason they can get away with eating no carbs, is their body turns all the protein they eat, or a lot of the protein they eat, into carbs. But this is a stressful process. This raises stress hormones. And if you're not fucking stupid, you'll know that obviously you don't want higher stress hormones if you want to feel good. Higher stress hormones means a slower thyroid. Your thyroid is the engine of your body. It determines your energy and, how you feel. And it lowers testosterone. If you have higher stress hormones, lower testosterone, lower thyroid, it's not what you want whatsoever. The rule that fixes this stupid shit that you've been eating a ton of protein, ton of fat, because everyone told you that those are the healthiest foods, the beef and the eggs. I used to eat like a pound of ground beef, 10 eggs in one sitting, which is absurd. I ate all those huge amounts of protein and fat because people told me that those foods were the healthiest, that protein was the most important macronutrient, and that carbs were going to make me fat or feel like shit, when the opposite was true. A 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio fixes that, okay? It'll lower stress hormones. When you eat twice as many carbs as protein, there is a significantly lower level of stress hormones in your body, which means higher testosterone, which means a better thyroid, because your thyroid actually runs on carbs. It runs on sugar, on glucose and fructose, which is why you feel so much better if you hit that 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. Now, your carbs are not coming from starches. They're not coming from processed foods. They're not coming from processed sugar. You obviously know that orange juice, fruit, honey are not the same thing as, Coca-Cola, fucking chocolate chip cookies, processed foods. It's not the same thing. Your body processes them differently. You will feel better on these natural sugars, and you basically can't be unhealthy. Like, you can't put on fat with these foods. You are so much healthier when you eat these carbs versus any others. But you're still kind of under eating them, even though you know how effective they are. You know that they're so much better for you than the processed sugars. But you need to be hitting that 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio at every single meal. The way you do that is with juice, with honey, with calorie dense fruits. We'll talk about that in a second. But you don't want any other forms of carbs. I'm talking about starches, I'm talking about grains. I know a lot of you miss the rice, the potatoes. You think those are whole foods, those can't be that bad for me. Sometimes you'll experiment with those. Maybe you get tired of the fruit and the honey, and you add in rice or potatoes or something like that. I'm telling you right now, starches are suboptimal. for how you feel, for putting on fat, for health in general, compared to sugar, natural sugar. Now, this is because, well, it's for a bunch of reasons. First of all, we evolved to eat fruit and honey. We didn't evolve to eat large quantities of starches. If you think that our ancestors, were eating low-calorie fruit that was like, like some bitter berries, and we didn't have access to any fruit in caveman times, that's complete bullshit. We were eating large tropical fruits because we evolved in the tropical region of Africa. If you actually study like evolution, we evolved right near the equator in Africa where there is tropical fruit in season literally year round, like large. And these are not like, oh, ancient fruit was really small and bitter and we've bred all the fruits to be really sugary. It's not true. We had access to large sugary fruits. In some cases they were more sugary than a lot of the fruits we eat now. So it's just bullshit to say that, our ancestors were eating no carbs or very small amounts of carbs. So fruit and honey, we evolved eating fruit from, if we found a mango tree, we're eating a ton of mangoes. If we found a beehive, we're eating a ton of honey. You look at the Hadza in Africa, this is what they do. One of the reasons, and there's some societies that have starches that have maybe sweet potatoes, tubers, things like that. But most people tolerate sugar, which has fructose and glucose. If you think fructose is harmful, you need to catch up on the science because it's just not actually true. But fructose and glucose, that combination specifically when it comes in these natural forms, it's kind of complicated, but your body processes these much more effectively, and it's much more beneficial for you to have this fructose and glucose combination in sugar versus just straight glucose in the starches, because that's what the glucose is, or that's what the rice or potatoes or anything like that. It's just straight glucose. Your body doesn't process that as well. Your blood sugar is more dysregulated when you eat those carbs, especially large portions. You'll put on fat easier, and your liver prefers fructose, your thyroid prefers fructose. So make sure your carbs are coming from these sources instead of obviously processed sugar, which people like to say, oh, this is the exact same thing as high fructose corn syrup. It's just not. Go drink a Coca-Cola, go drink this and tell me, go drink a large glass of orange juice and tell me how you feel, between the two. Obviously the orange juice with natural sugar is going to make you feel better than the high fructose corn syrup. So your carbs are coming from natural sugars, but you need to eat more of these sugars. You can't be eating, like I used to do, some berries, some melons at every meal, not really tracking the carbs. You need calorie-dense fruits, you need juice, and you need honey. You do not need the melons and the berries. You can have those occasionally, obviously, but those are not what you eat at every meal because they're low calorie, they're low carb. They are the reason that you don't feel that good is because you're eating low calorie fruit. So, the best methods that you can use to increase your carb counts to hit that 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio, because immediately when you eat that ratio, you will feel so much better. It's immediate, like right away, because your stress hormones just go down, your thyroid, like your brain has the glucose it needs. Everything functions better with that 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio. The way you do this is, first of all, I drink orange juice at every meal. You don't have to do that, but it's an easy way to get carbs. It's delicious. It has good micronutrients. And it's convenient to just pour a glass of orange juice. But you can also do things like dates. Now, actually, let me get my bag of dates. Hold on. I've got a huge, it's like 5 pounds of dates right here. This is the type of shit you need to be doing if you want to feel really good on an animal-based diet. Calorie-dense fruit, dates, bananas, grapes, I don't know, mango. There's not a lot of calorie-dense fruit, but the fruit you do eat should be one of, the ones that has lots of carbs per serving. Like for this, if you look at the nutrition facts, maybe you can't see, but each serving has 20 grams of carbs, and there's 57 servings in this bag, all right? You have to be prioritizing those fruits. You need to maybe go order this bag of dates on Amazon right now because it's very convenient. You also have to be eating honey. This is some local honey. I'll just be eating this sometimes, like Winnie the Pooh or some shit. But these are the things you need to be eating. Okay, you got to get creative with it. You got to be aggressive. Okay, I'll be putting honey on like my burgers or on my steak. I'll be adding it to my orange juice sometimes. I'll do like honey with blueberries or honey with, I don't know, strawberries or something like that. That's how you hit 300 grams of carbs per day. You need to be eating 300 grams of carbs per day for optimal thyroid function and for energy, or depending on what your protein is, depending on, how large you are. 300 grams of carbs might not even be enough, like 400. Maybe you need 400. As long as it's twice as much protein or twice as much as your protein, and you could go above that, obviously. That 2-to-1 carb to protein ratio is a minimum. You can easily go 2.5, 3 times your carbs to protein, and you'll feel even better. You'll have more energy. You'll optimize your thyroid even more. But that's the minimum, okay? Because I notice when I go below that, when I don't follow my own advice, I feel worse. I just feel worse. I have less energy, brain fog, when I don't get enough carbs compared to my protein. You're eating meat and fruit, you're eating animal-based. I would recommend, once you decrease your protein intake, to essentially prioritize the nutrient-dense sources of protein. Because if you're eating a bunch of dairy, protein powder, something like that, you're not getting nutrient density when it comes to your protein, and you're eating too much. So if you're eating less protein, you need to get good bang for your buck, all right? So it needs to be beef, it needs to be eggs for maximum micronutrients, maybe some other forms of meat, but make sure they're low in polyunsaturated fats, and just make sure you're not overeating protein. It's not easy to overeat protein anyways. Like, the only reason you've been eating too much protein is because you've been told that protein is so important, that you need lots of protein. Because naturally, if I like wiped your memory and put you in a room with like a bunch of fucking carbs and a bunch of protein, like a bunch of steak, a bunch of juice and fruit and honey, and I wiped your memory of all the diet shit that you've heard on the internet, naturally, I guarantee naturally you would eat twice as many carbs, if not more, as protein. You would stop eating protein after like 30 to 40 grams of protein naturally. Obviously, like it's not enjoyable to eat that much protein. But you've just been telling yourself, "Oh, I need to eat this much protein. I need this much, and I don't need any of those carbs." No, naturally, if I put you in a room and wipe your fucking memory, you would eat way more carbs than protein because it's more delicious. We have a sweet tooth for a reason. You would eat lots and lots of these fruit and honey and, fruit juice carb sources. All right, so that's how you eat more sugar. Make sure you're getting lots and lots of sugar in your diet because you're probably under eating carbs and overeating protein. Thanks for watching.